Howdy everyone, this is Omar, your audio amigo, here with episode 2 of Thrifty Tunes. Today we're going to do a quick review of the venerable Tangzu Wan'er, the original. The Tangzu Wan'er was released at the tail end of 2022, and since then it has been a mainstay of the best IEMs under $25 lists. So let's see what kind of magic it holds. Start with what's inside the box. Inside this very, very nice box, you get basically the same as what you got on the Studio Edition. You get the IEMs themselves, you get the cable, you get a really, really nice cleaning cloth based on the box art, also double-sided, and you get the same 7 pairs of ear tips. So you get 4 sizes of the wide bore and 3 sizes of the narrow bore. So we'll start with the cable. This is a black braided arrangement. I got the version with the microphone and inline control, so I don't have a chin cinch. The Y-split is your standard plasticky design with a bit of a strain relief on the end. On the amp end, you have right angle 3.5mm jack. This is the 4-pole, so this is the one with the microphone. And then on the other end, you get, just like on the Studio Edition, QDC connector. Come on, there we go. QDC connector. The ear hooks on these are not the memory style like on the Studio. They're the older pre-molded style, but they still have a bit of give if you bend them the way you want. Overall, I like the cable quite a bit. It lays flat, behaves well, isn't microphonic, doesn't make me immediately want to go out to replace it. I do prefer the cable on the new Studio Edition though, but that's mostly because of the nice metal chin cinch and the memory hooks. So we'll move on to the construction. As mentioned in my last video, these are molded resin shells with a see-through design. You can see the driver right there. You've got your 2 vent holes, got the QDC connector. People have had durability issues with these, as I mentioned in the last video, mostly with this top plate cracking. It tends to break either here at the tip, and the tip sort of falls off, or as I mentioned before, this connector will bend upward under pressure and the top plate will crack here and the whole connector will slide back. I haven't had any issues. I've had these for about 4-6 months-ish, but I'm very gentle on these, and these aren't my everyday IEM. So if these are your only IEM, I would say maybe treat them a little more gingerly than usual. As usual, I'm going to put the specifications up on the screen. These are single 10mm dynamic. As far as amplification goes, these will run out of a phone, laptop, Apple dongle just fine. You don't really need an external or additional amp. Thanks to these resin shells, these are super lightweight. The nozzle is a fairly normal size. Fitment shouldn't really be a problem. All right, so let's do the cool wall. This should be pretty easy. I just did their little sister last week. I don't particularly care for the white or the black designs. They're kind of meh as far as I'm concerned. But the jade with this gorgeous phoenix or crane with the clouds looks really, really good. And I actually prefer the blue that just came out not too long ago. Those are really awesome looking. So based on those 2 colors alone, I'm going to go ahead and stick these in cool next to their sister. But let's see what the ladies on the council had to say. It looks like they're considered pretty, and that if their friends had them, they'd be like, hey, these are pretty cool. And it looks like blue and green are the hit colors for this set, with a little bit of white and a little bit of the black. And here are some comments that they had to say. I agree with them, especially for their color choices. I kind of wish I had the blue ones, but they just came out, and I can't really justify buying another set just for the color. But consensus appears to be that these are pretty good looking. So moving on to comfort, just like the last ones, I managed to wear these for an all-day gaming session. These are easily an all-day comfort IEM. The longer nozzle on these means you can get a deeper fit easier for those of you who prefer a deeper fit. Yeah, these are pretty fantastic for all-day comfort and wear with them being so lightweight. They passed my wife's tiny ears test. No problem for her. No loss of seal, no discomfort, no problem taking her eensy-weensy tiny ear tips. So overall, very good on that. So that being said, let's move on to the audio presentation. We'll go ahead and start as usual with the bass. Bass presentation on these is really nice. 808 drops in rap songs, hit, outcast the way you move, controlled tight, sub bass drops have presence, good texture, the mid bass is well controlled, notes don't linger longer than they should. This is not a bass head set, and it's definitely not a bass monster, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything here in terms of the overall tuning and presentation of the bass. It's, I would say, adequate as for me in terms of bass amount. Moving on to the mids, like the Studio Edition, the mids are correct, well presented. The guitars with and without distortion pedals sound rich and clean. Male vocals through the whole range, so the low gravelly vocals and the higher vocals are, in my opinion, very well reproduced. Freddie Mercury's voice in Don't Stop Me Now has the sort of epicness that it deserves, and it does all of this without masking or hiding the texture of the piano underneath, which is sort of hiding, being nice in the background. The whole mid-range is represented very well. It's very polite, inoffensive, no complaints here. Moving on to the upper mids and treble, this is where I'm split a bit. So the level of overall treble detail is probably, in my opinion, the weakest part of this set, at least to my ears. I hear it the most in percussion. The initial cymbal hit sounds great, but to my ear, there are some missing upper harmonics, and it makes cymbals and hi-hats seem muted, like they lose a little bit of energy. If you're treble sensitive, this is actually a great thing, because you get the cymbal detail and texture at the instant, but the harmonics that people tend to have trouble with aren't there as much. I hear this the most actually in Van Halen's Jump. The cymbals are there. You can hear them. They're definitely noticeable and nice. They don't feel as nuanced or as textured on they do as on other sets. So yeah, overall, not the greatest set for treble detail. All of those shortcomings, however, are completely washed away the instant you put on a good female vocalist. Everyone else has been calling these a vocal-centric set, and I definitely agree. Henri's I Can't Stop the Loneliness is awesome on these. Her voice just comes alive. She sounds clear. All the harmonics in her voice are there. The texture on the sustained notes is well reproduced. You end up, in my opinion, sort of losing yourself in the vocals and not caring so much about the muted percussion. And that's the story here, is stellar female vocals, muted top-end detail, sort of mediocre harmonics. For micro detail, at this price, the set's okay. Buena Vista Social Club's Chan Chan, there's a lot of finger texture on the bass strings in that song. And on this one, only the most obvious sort of finger movements are audible, as well as some of the more produced finger slides, I'll say. As I said earlier, treble details are not this suit's strong set. This is not a technical tour de force, but at the price that they're asking, it really doesn't matter. It's great overall for the price. Soundstage, stereo separation is good. Another track I use for this is Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Instruments and vocals are where they belong. It doesn't feel claustrophobic or closed in. I'd say it's about right for this price. The perceived 3D soundstage, again, it's an IEM. It's about average. Not a lot of front and back to the soundstage. It's definitely wide enough. On some very well-mastered tracks, you can get some front and back. I noticed on Straight No Chaser with Thelonious Monk, the piano 100% sounds like it's behind you. Not too far behind you, but a decent amount to where you can actually notice it. So stereo separation is good. Soundstage, about average. So for comparisons, I decided to pit it against the two other members of what, in my opinion, is the big three of the best IEMs under $25 list. Appearing for the second hit week, we've got the Moondrop Chew 2. To my ear, the Chew has a tiny bit more bass punch and is overall more balanced and detailed on the top end. It's a better all-rounder. It has an all-metal build, and it uses that normal 2-pin, as I mentioned in the last video. But it doesn't have that same wow factor that the Wan'er has in the female vocals. And then the other one is the 7Hz 02. This has even more bass than anybody else here. And in my opinion, it has better overall top-end detail than the Wan'er as well. I think it makes for a more relaxed listening experience than the other two with that extra bass. Again, it doesn't have the female vocal wow factor that the Wan'er has. And I think that in the current market, all three of these have their place. The 02 is for borderline bass heads who want a more relaxed listening experience, the Ep.2 is, in my opinion, the best all-rounder. It's good at basically everything, but doesn't excel at anything. And the Wan'er is king for people who want a more relaxed treble presentation and have a library full of female vocalists. So that being said, let's take these out of the way and pull up the Audio Amigo Arbitrary rating scale. So, to my ears and my preferences, the original Wan'er aren't perfect. I really wish they had a bit more of that top-end resolving power, but honestly, it doesn't matter. In fact, I'm going to ask you to do me a little favor right now. If you own this set and you can tolerate Japanese pop music, in a bit, go get them, okay? Plug them into your phone, your player, whatever you use. Go online and find a good quality version of NaNoWriMo's Gekka. Album cover should look like this. Here it is. After you pull it up, pause the video and listen through to the end of at least the first chorus. Then come back here and press play. Don't worry, I'll wait. And that right there is why this set is getting put in But I Like This. When I was listening to these for my testing, that was the specific song that came on and made me realize, at this price range, this set is something kind of special. It seems almost tailor-made for anime music, J-pop, K-pop, basically anything that has a talented female singer in it. These will do something special for you. And for that reason, I'm going to put them in But I Like This. Which leads us cleanly into the recommendation. These are well-tuned. They're supposed to be $21, but if you check Amazon or AliExpress or basically anywhere, these are more in the, I would say, $13 to $18 range. I would say the average price on these is $15. So, I mean, for $15, with the box it comes with the cleaning cloth that you get, with that special female-centric performance, if your library is mostly pop, anime music, and female vocalists, and you're looking for your first IEM and you want something special, I would actually recommend these. If your library is full of most of that stuff, this should 100% be on your short list for your only IEM. The only reason I would pass up these is if your library is also filled with jazz, classical, or other genres where you're going to be missing that top-end detail. On the other hand, if you're sensitive to treble and you find the sort of treble extension that the Chew has to seem sort of unnatural, or you think the Chew has a little bit too much bass, these might be something else you can look into if this is going to be your first IEM. If you already have an all-rounder IEM, if you already have the Chew, if you already have something maybe a bit more expensive, then I honestly, if you're looking for a second set, I would still pick these up, because these are a really cheap way to get a special vocal set for your female artist. If you just want to put on a Japanese city pop vinyl and jam out, these are perfect. You can do a whole lot worse than these for $21, especially for $15 if you just want a specialist vocal set. But that's going to do it for me today. As always, if there's a budget set that you'd like to see get the Thrifty Tunes treatment, let me know down in the comments. I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you so much for your support. The response to the first several videos has been way better than I expected, so I really, really appreciate it. This has been Omar with Audio Amigo Reviews, and I'll catch y'all next time.